Thanks for staying with us here on Sunrise. Good morning to you wherever you are. It's now time for Law and Order JA. And the question sent in today, it reads, underage and above the law? In cases where minors commit serious offenses, what are the legal consequences and protections in place for those under a certain age? How does the law balance accountability and the understanding of maturity when it comes to young offenders? It is a very fascinating matter. To help us discuss, we have attorney at law Anwar Wright, managing attorney at Wright Legal. Anwar.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Does the answer to the question reside in the particular offense that we're dealing with? Do different pieces of legislation deal with age of majority differently, or is it just 12 years and older right across the board?
Well, in terms of the age of majority, we have the Law Reform Age of Majority Act that determines that anybody who's over the age of 18 is of full age. So we know that in terms of children or child offenders, we know that is everybody that is 18, that is below the age of 18.
Right.
But the first, that's the starting point for this type of discussion.
Right.
The second thing is really, what do we do with a child offender, right? And in the formal criminal justice system, you're going to have the children's court who's going to have jurisdiction over dealing with issues or dealing with cases where minors are involved, all right? And what you have is that those children that commit offenses, we have a formal justice system that deals with that. And what we want to do is to get the children away from the formal justice system for those minor offenses that can be dealt with. So maybe about 2010 thereabout, you had the government of Jamaica coming up with a program, a national program, to kind of divert or treat with children that come into conflict with the law. And out of that program, you had what we call now the child diversion program. And that program seeks to steer the kids away from the formal criminal justice system and more towards a part of rehabilitation that doesn't involve detention and institutionalization, right? Because we want that to be the last resort altogether.
Which it kind of leads to where I am going, because obviously, so we're parents, right?
Yeah.
And obviously you're not looking at a child under the age of 18 as someone to be able to hold complete accountability. You're not looking at them as someone as a maturity level to make adult decisions, which is why the age of 18 has been determined. My question is, Anwar, in circumstances, especially circumstances where there are more extreme cases, we're not talking about petty larceny here, so let me just call the spade a spade. In the event of a sexual offense, if we are saying that you are not yet 18, so we're not giving you, legally we don't view you as able to make adult decisions, how do we treat with cases of those matters to say, how do we respond in terms of punishment? How do we view rehabilitation? How do we even view what is meted out to that child? Because by the law, they are a child. What happens there?
Okay, all right. So for children who are over the age of 14 years old and they have committed an offense that, for example, murder or rape, they are treated, those matters are dealt with in the circuit court. And that is in relation to how the law is set up, to put it simply. And for those children who are under the age of 14, the Children's Court has jurisdiction over that matter.
In the case, however, of two children who are under the age of 16, and it is a matter that is not, in the strictest sense, rape, as in there is quote-unquote consent among two persons who the law says are not yet able to form consent. Is it that the law treats a particular one of the children differently than the other?
No, but we know the term rape is the unlawful penetration.
Right.
So in the culpability, even though there is no consent, this is a type of matter that more than likely will be remitted to the realm of the child diversion program, right? As recommended, recommended by the court, and treated with in a way that the best interest of the child is concerned, because we don't really want the children in the formal criminal justice system. We want them away from that. We want to steer them in the right direction, and we want to focus more on non-custodial circumstances and non-detention and non-institutionalization programs. But I know the hot topic is what do you do with a child, for example, who is under the age of 12, right? Now that, the reality...
And there are more cases than we might think, or
Correct.
there are more cases than we might want to believe.
Yes. The reality of a circumstance where a child is under the age of 12 is that that child is not capable of committing a crime or committing an offense that is recognized by the law as a crime. So this is where you have the CPFSA, Child Protection Family Services Agency, coming into play now to play a role in protecting the child. And you would have things happening like interviewing the parents or the guardians of the children, going into the community to see what are the circumstances that could lead to this type of situation, and to make recommendations, for example, counseling, psych evaluation, those types of things, to see how best you can curb that type of antisocial behavior.
What's interesting is when incidents of these nature come public, as Dennis just said, it happens more than we know.
And
So when they come public, there's a massive outrage. And there's often a call in an extreme way of how to respond to a particular thing.
Yes.
But like, can we speak about the importance of rehabilitation, the importance of understanding that the best response, as you just said, is not throwing them
Detention and
into detention,
institutionalization.
correct? Because then it kind of perpetuates a cycle of them becoming a worse criminal because they're now interacting with the worst of the worst. So let's talk about that
yes,
some more.
and when you think about the best interest of the child, at the forefront, we want, the saying goes back, it takes a village, right? We want the community to be involved. We want the agencies that are put in place to help to foster children being on the right path. We don't want them institutionalized. We don't want them detained and to become worse criminals, because you know that you can commit a minor offense and go into detention and come out with, as they say, a degree criminal
Indeed.
criminology.
Does Jamaican law contemplate, as part of the rehabilitation, the sealing of the file of a person under a certain age, and the ease of, or greater ease of expungement of record for someone who committed offenses before a certain time?
Or admonishing. You can part of the justice systems allows for where there are offenses that a person is charged for, and it goes through even the formal criminal justice system, that person can be admonished. You don't have to have that offense form part of the record. That's within the discretion of the judge and recognized by the law. Right. In cases, for example, that we were talking about, where there is a diversion case, the fact that the child, or one of the requirements that the child has to admit culpability, that understand that they have done wrong, right? That from its taken out of the realm of the formal criminal justice system, it will not form part of any record that would be there on the child's account, so that would follow them for the rest of their lives, because that's what we don't want.
Right. But they must show culpability.
It must. And on top of that, the victim must consent to it as well. because the victim plays a part. No, the person who has been
this
affected.
is more in the
So you
direction
see,
of restorative justice.
and counseling comes into play.
Interesting.
Very interesting. There's so much more that we could literally just peel back on this topic. Thank
It's
you
a
so
whole
much.
day discussion.
It is a whole day and then some.
And
All
then
right, that
some.
was attorney at law Anwar Wright helping us to examine the legal consequences and protections. All right, up next, if needs be, you will need something to call your lawyer. Yeah? Are you? Well, stick and stay. We're going to introduce you to the phone that you're going to use to call the lawyer if you need to call the lawyer. It's a Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra.
All
So
right.
please stay with us for more details.